Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Fireside Chat. This is our 75th, where I'm in conversation with a member of the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. So I would just like to start, like I did for the last 2 weeks, is just to say a prayer for peace in the world, if that's okay. Gomara Shiakon ar fud na crinne, Gomara Shiakon in our Jaili agus in our Jirha, Ganari Lin len ar Garamaka, Galmid Buikas Jeev, Jehe Kvdika, a spirit Kvdika. May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail in our homes and in our countries. May our missions be accomplished. We thank you, guardian spirits and guardian deities. As the fever of day calms towards twilight, may all that is strained in us come to ease. We pray for all who suffered violence today. May an unexpected serenity surprise them. For those who risk their lives each day for peace, may their hearts glimpse providence at the heart of history. That those who make riches from violence and war might hear in their dreams the cries of the lost. That we might see through our fear of each other a new vision to heal our fatal attraction to aggression. That those who enjoy the privilege of peace might not forget their tormented brothers and sisters. That the wolf might lie down with the lamb, that our swords be beaten into plowshares, and no harm or hurt be done anywhere along the mountain. That's from John O'Donoghue. So, hi everybody, you're very, very welcome again. And hi Philippa from Crouch End and Arlington, Washington, Abruzzo, ciao Beth, Switzerland, hi Gunter, Sherry from New York, Alan from Killaloo, hi Floriana, ciao from Berlin, and Edinburgh, Richmond, Virginia, Marcella from Cork. Sunny London, it has been absolutely lovely these past few days. I can't believe it. For the first time feeling the warmth of my sun, or the warmth of the sun on my face last Saturday. It's just such a treat. So Tracy from Cork, Julia from London, Frances, hi from Finland. Lovely to see you all. So let me, I suppose, invite you to my guest. Tonight we're going to Berlin, and I'd like to welcome Bianca Wertheimer. I hope I've pronounced your name properly. You're very, very
Yes.
welcome, Bianca.
Thank you very much for having me.
So you are in Berlin. So what's Berlin like from a Druid perspective? You know, as a Druid living in Berlin, what's it like? What's your landscape like?
Well, I mean, I do not live in the center of Berlin.
Okay.
I do live in Spandau, which is like the far west of Berlin, like the southwest. And here it's very lovely because we have a really huge river and a lot of woods. So although I do work in the inner city, I have the luck to be around a lot of green and a lot of trees and this lovely river. And we also like Spandau is older than Berlin. So we also have an amazing citadel where we sometimes used to make rituals. Yeah. Well, it's honestly, it's an amazing landscape because it's completely different from the inner city. Yeah.
And that's beautiful. And your citadel, how old is that?
Oh, honestly, I know that it was built on in a very old Slavic citadel, like a Slavic castle before. It must have been built between, I think, for around 1400 or something like so. It's very, very old, yes. And it's actually currently it's used as a museum, for example, and sometimes a place for large concerts and medieval markets, for example. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So, I suppose, what brought you to Druidry?
A lot of events, honestly, quite a lot of events. I never thought I would become a Druid, to be honest. Um, I think this is a bit of a longer story, so I think and hope it's interesting for you to hear. Honestly, I just started like many of us as a solitary witch when I was like 13.
Ah,
And I was a solitary practitioner up until I met my husband, who was also doing a lot of solitary stuff. I was more into Wiccan and goddess spirituality, and he was a bit more into shamanism. So when we got together, he told me about a druid order. Um, but at that time, he didn't really know anything about that order. He just thought it was a thing for old white men. So he was like, one day when I'm old, I will join this druid order. And well, I think it was 2012 when we got together. So for my first birthday, he bought me two books. It was Philip's Wisdom of Nature and Wisdom of Druids. And I was like, wow, thank you for the books of the Order for Old White Men. So I just put that book aside for at least 3 years up until I was looking for a birthday present for my husband. And I decided to buy him the body course.
ah,
Yeah, so it was just a birthday present for him. Because I was doing a lot of workshops with reclaiming witches, like and priestess workshops and stuff like that. And I thought it might be a good idea if he has something for himself, um, like with more men. Because also in our witches circle, there were two other men, but we were mostly just women. So I thought maybe a druid order full of men would be something good for him. Um, and around that time, we've been planning our honeymoon because we got married in 2000 and no, it was not. Yeah, well, like 2015, we got married. We planned our honeymoon, and we saw a documentation about King Arthur, which took place in Glastonbury. And we decided that we would do our honeymoon in Glastonbury without knowing that the Druid gathering would just be at
ah.
that weekend. So yeah, I ordered the course for him, but I read the introductory package because I thought it might be a good idea to at least somehow know what my husband's doing in those strange order. And I read the introductory package and I was completely overwhelmed because everything just felt like it was written straight out of my heart. And then I remembered the books and I read the books. Um, yeah, but I hadn't told my husband because I thought, well, this thing is something for him. I shouldn't influence him, so I shouldn't tell him that I'm also interested in Druidry. But we went to Glastonbury on our honeymoon, and the gathering took place on Saturday, and we arrived on Sunday afternoon. But we were like, maybe we are lucky to see some druids. Maybe there were some druids left in Glastonbury. And we spent our first evening in the Georgian Pilgrims. And I mean, what better place to find a druid? And there were two strange men sitting in front of us. And I know that one has had the Arwen necklace. And we were like, honey, do you think this could be a druid? And he's like, oh, maybe that's a druid. I don't know. Should I ask him? So when he went for a smoke and they went for a smoke, he just asked them like, "Are you two druids?" And one of them was Roland, which I think now
Roland
you.
the Boat.
It was Roland, yeah.
Ah,
So we got to know Roland and just sat down, had a really nice chat, and I think it was him or his friend that suddenly asked me, "So why didn't you want to join the OBOD? I feel like you would like to, but you just don't say it." I was like, yeah, honestly, I would love to join the OBOD. And so we were just having a nice chat in Glastonbury. And my husband was a huge fan of Philip Cargham. And he was like, oh, one day maybe I could see him in real life. And he told Roland, oh, I always wanted to meet Philip Cargham. And the funny thing is, honestly, I mean, only the people that were there believed it. There is this Glastonbury Imaginarium on the other side of the Georgian Pilgrims. And just when we sat there and he said it, the door opened and Philip got out of that place
no.
because he was doing a workshop there. So we got introduced to Philip. And yeah, that's how I got to OBOT. I just got initiated the same day, like between the wet and white spring. So what better place to?
Ah, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
So it was
Wonderful.
our honeymoon night, and we got initiated by Roland and one of his friends.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
beautiful. Beautiful.
So that was like 7 years ago.
Oh, wonderful. I didn't know the connection with you and Roland. He's been here with me for a week. He's gone back now, back home, but he spent all last week with
Yeah,
me.
well, I've seen it on Facebook. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
No, of course we've been in contact ever since. I mean, this is something that really connects people. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. There's a comment here from Ferdiad. We used to play Druid Bingo the day after the gathering, seeing who we bump into on Glastonbury High Street. Um,
Yeah.
I've experienced that, and I wasn't calling it Druid Bingo, but that after the gathering is over, and you say, I'm just going to go up now to the top of the street because I need to get something, and I'll be back in a few minutes. And you wouldn't be able to because you'd be meeting people
No.
and stopping and having
Yeah.
conversations all along as far as you could until you got to your destination and back again. It was just wonderful.
Well, as we went to the gatherings ever since we joined the OBOD, yes, I absolutely know about it. You shouldn't make any plans in Glastonbury because you just ran into random people that you like and love, and then time just flies by very quickly. You end up somewhere, wherever. Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's a brilliant story. So, what impact has? I mean, I know you've obviously, like, from a very young age, into Wicca. Um, have you? Okay, I suppose there's two questions. Like, how is Druidry? What impact has Druidry had in your life? Which is probably one question, and then how would you see for you the difference between Wicca and Druidry in terms of it nourishing your spiritual path?
Well, honestly, I am not an initiated Wicca, so I was just solitary doing my things from books, for example, up until we build our own eclectic circle, which
Mhm.
was meant to be like a really open circle where everyone could just practice whatever kind of way he or she would want it to be to
Mhm.
do, and then I mean we've learned quite a lot together. But I always felt like I was on a search for something that I was not able to find. I was looking for a teacher, I was looking for, I don't know, a high priestess, but I honestly I never found anyone that I felt really connected with. I mean, other than my circle, of course, because they were all friends, but no one I could look up to, or no one who could really teach me,
Yeah.
because I've read a lot of books, but honestly, it was really boring to be in there alone and to practice alone. And I wanted at that time, I wanted to be initiated into a Wiccan circle, but Druidry came my way, and I totally decided for Druidry simply because it was to me at that point it was much more open-minded, and I'm a Gemini. The last thing you should do is to put me into a cage and tell me what to do. It's not good for me. And the Wicca circle that I knew at that time, I mean, I've met many over the last years, very great groups, but the only Wicca circle I knew at that time was very high, has a very strange hierarchy, and let's say a lot less freedom than Druidry.
Okay.
So that's what brought, and I see that's at that point, this is what just brought me to Druidry. But I would have never imagined that it would change my whole life, because I honestly, I would say that everything around me just changed when I started working myself during the course, especially at the Bardic course. I did a lot of deep psychological work on myself, for example,
Mhm.
and I also started the interfaith dialogue just straight after I joined the OBOD. And besides it having a large impact, of course, on my own personal development, it also had a large impact on my career development, because after I started doing a lot of press work and this interface dialogue, I gained so much more confidence in what I do and what I believe, that in the end, well, it gave me a large career boost as well. So yeah, I would say
So,
everything changed.
okay, I want to come back to the
Yeah, sure.
interfaith dialogue in a minute, but you work in a bank.
Yeah.
So, how did Druidry help your career? I'm really intrigued with this.
um, when I started, like my OBOD, the OBOD course, I was doing just customer service in a, is it like, oh, what was it in English? I'm working for, and I can openly say it because all of my colleagues know what I do besides my job. So I do work at Deutsche Bank, and I was at that time working for a smaller company that belonged to Deutsche Bank, just in a customer service center, and no one was interested in what I do in my private life because no one just simply cared because I was so uninteresting that no one cared about what I did for a living. But I opened my witches shop in 2014 besides my job in a bank, simply
Okay.
because I was so bored. My job was really, really boring, and I had no job perspective at that point. So I also opened my witches shop and did it as a sidepreneurship. And then we started the whole interfaith dialogue and a lot of press work. So I was on TV and in magazines and stuff like that because we've been doing a lot of documentaries on modern paganism and witchcraft. And I applied for a new job within the bank.
Yeah.
And because I had at that point, it was in 2019 when I finally decided that I had to apply for a new job within the bank, because honestly, my job was very, very badly paid. And I mean, you just get to the point in life where you feel like, okay, I should at least be able to pay my regular bills. So I applied for a new job. And honestly, I was very lucky that I have thrown myself into those press work before, because I was used to stupid questions. I was used to very, very stupid questions. And I went to the job interview and I sat down. I was very well prepared for the job I would apply for. But I sat down at the job interview and they were both men sitting in front of me, and they were like, okay, well, we Googled you. How do you feel if people think that you're a lunatic? And I was like, excuse me? And they were like, yeah, I mean, you pretend to be a witch. You must be somehow crazy, aren't you? So I gave a short talk about Indo-European shamanism and druidry. And they listened for about 30 minutes. And then they say, okay, thank you very much. And they haven't even asked any question about the new job or about my profession in a bank. So I left after 30 minutes. They told me, yeah, well, we have other people to interview. We will call you. And I was like, okay, that was it.
Yeah.
So 2 days later, they called me and they said, okay, honestly, let's be honest. We invited you simply because we want to make fun of you. And we never thought of giving you the job. But we decided to give you the job simply because, like, you were so grounded and you were so not crazy and just open to us that we decided to give you the job. So I applied for that new job and I got it in the end, simply because I was very well prepared to answer quite stupid questions. And this is also why I do those whole interfaith dialogue and press things, not for myself, but simply because I hope that one day people will not get asked that stupid questions if they apply for new jobs. Yeah, well, and because I was living my druidry very openly within my whole bank job, I also got a second, even better job in May last year, also within the bank. They all knew that I'm a druid, and they love my influence, or like the way I try to influence the way, for example, our bank works. So we started to do a lot of like projects where we teach children about financial things, for example. But I mean, not only that, but sustainability, for example, is my biggest topic in the bank branch, and I try to do the best I can to influence my colleagues and the bank to be a bit more sustainable, yeah, and nature
That's
centered.
fascinating. Michael says this kind of perception has kept me in the broom closet, and it's sad that many people. I mean, I've had correspondence with people say we can never let anyone know in our work or where we live because of
Yeah.
the area we live in that we're druids, and I've been very, very lucky here as well. People know I've never had to hide it.
Yeah.
And it your thing about learning to speak about it in a way that's very grounded, that comes from a place of deep confidence within you, so that when you're asked the stupid question, or like, do you dance
Yeah.
around naked with fire, or do you eat humans and all this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Worship the
you-
devil, eat
yeah,
animals like cats, and
exactly. And
yeah.
that you're able to feel those and answer them in a very grounded way.
Yeah.
And then you're actually presenting a really, really grounded, like you're a very good ambassador for it. I mean, Julia says, not even my husband knows I'm a Druid, so it's my hope would be for people to find a way to be able to articulate it. But of course you have to feel safe. And I'm coming from a place of safety to be able to say it, even though I taught in a seminary for 27 years. People knew exactly what it was, and there was never a problem. Andrew Anderson, do you know him? He has said hello to you. Do you know Andrew Anderson?
Hi, of course.
He said, everyone knows I'm a Druid. It's the least weird thing about me.
I would say so too, to be honest. Yeah. As a may not about you, but myself. Yeah.
That so I think it's really, I'm really impressed that, how your Druidry and your experience of doing documentaries and press conferences and all of that, that when it came to it, that they, their intention was to make a joke out of you and just have a bit of fun. And then and then there's, because of how you present it, there's a complete turnaround, and then they offer you the job.
And honestly, I've never thought that Druidry would help me to get a new, better jobs in a bank. To be honest, I've never thought that this could be somehow connected to each other, but yeah, it did.
Oh my God. Leah says, totally drawn into this conversation. It's grounding me as you speak, respecting the dialogue. Well done. True authenticity. Leah, absolutely. So that's a lovely compliment to you. Cindy says, this is a message to Julia, whose husband doesn't know she's a Druid. I'm slowly slipping into it every day life, but my husband does know. It's deeply personal. Yeah, so it's I mean, hopefully we could all be open about it, but of course you have to discern when it's the sad thing is, it's, I'm a celebrant, and I do weddings, and I do legal weddings, and because I do all the legal weddings in Ireland, so most of the guests will be Irish.
Yeah.
And for many it'll be their first time having gone to any kind of Druidic ceremony and not knowing what to expect, and then come up after and say that was amazing, regardless of their age, and saying, oh, if I would get married again, I want to do it this way. Because what are you doing? You're calling on nature.
Yeah.
You're working with the circle, earth, sky, and sea. You're at peace, and whatever the ritual is. And wedding rituals tend to be there's universal understanding of what a commitment is, and people are then very, very impressed. But it's the ignorance and the fears.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't live in I suppose, I mean, I was brought up in a very I suppose dominating, serious Catholic country. But then in Ireland, our connection with the other world, the fairies and all our mythology, is just very underneath our skin. So it's part of it as well. So I'm very, very lucky. So Cindy and Julia, I hope there will come a time, and to other people, that you can find a place to be able to express yourself. Crystal says, when I come out of the broom closet to my mum, she asked me to explain it to her. After she said, that explains why you spent your childhood talking to trees.
It's lovely.
That's really sweet. Yeah, that's really sweet. I love these, says Liz. I'm not Druid, but cannot believe how people judge us so unfairly. I go to a church and must say that with my very ecumenical and wide-based belief system, that so-called Christians are so often the very worst. I never hesitate to point out to my supposed kin that it's probably why I am who I am. I'm so happy to be able to visit with you and watch ceremonies and talks. Thank you so much. You're very, very welcome. And then Carmen says it's difficult in Spain. Okay.
Yeah, but that's why we like we do the whole interfaith dialogue thing in Berlin to make it easier. I don't know if I wouldn't. I mean, I've opened the witches shop in 2014, so I knew at that point that I was never able to hide it simply because if you just Googled my name, you would find the website. Um, and at that time, I was working at those department of the bank where it was completely of no interest because I did not really have had any personal contact with my customers. But even now, our bank branch it's called Bank Branch of the Future, where I do work in Quartier Zukunft. Um, our customers, they tend to Google us. And I also had like appointments where we honestly just wanted to talk about finances, but people were like, I Googled you. What is a druid? So yeah, but I mean, I'm in the lucky position to be able to speak about it. I know that many of my friends, also many of our druid friends or witches friends, whatever, they were just simply not allowed to talk about it because they're afraid to lose their job. For example, if they work in a kindergarten that is hosted by church, for example, it's hard to say that you're pagan. But this is what we are working for. This is why I do the whole interfaith dialogue and press work stuff here in Berlin, because I know that it helps to understand.
Absolutely, and there's loads of responses here, loads of comments. I just read. Eva says, if you live in an atheistic environment, it's difficult to tell people you're interested in Druidry. They think you're nuts. So I prefer not to talk about it. It's simply too stressful. Absolutely. I mean, cast not your pearls. If people really can't appreciate it, then hold your wished. Ferdia says, this is very funny. When I told my very Catholic mother, she said, well, at least you're praying to someone. I've heard that before. I think that's really sweet. I got outed, this is Pat, at work by a Christian friend who never thought about the effects. Some of the more Christian types still won't talk to me, my God. But most people don't care, and work does its best to give me all my pagan holidays because honestly, they have bigger things on their mind. Absolutely, Pat. I'm enjoying your wonderful heart glow when you speak so humbly yet proud while sharing the feedback received as a celebrant. Yeah. Then Diana says, since starting the course, I felt like my sensitivity superpowers are increasing. I've also been placed as a steward of a home and large garden space. Oh, that's a lovely. It's so beautiful. It's wonderful to regard yourself as the steward. I don't know if it's your home or someone else's home, but that and a large garden space. And I think there's something about Druids. I have a lovely garden that was originally just a field, and I see it as I'm the steward for my lifetime or for as long as I'm here, looking after it. And Druidry allows that. So it's. I just want to come back to your interfaith dialogue.
Yeah.
Who are you dialoguing with? And how broad is interfaith?
In Berlin there is it's called Forum der Religion, which is a large group of different religions. And we joined those Forum der Religion, like this group of religions in 2015. My friend Mara, who just recently joined the OBOD, was a witch's friend of mine for many years. She started the whole thing because there is a long night of religions in Berlin, and that takes place once in a year. Where long night of religions.
Oh.
It's an event that just takes place once in a year where every church and like temple and whatever, they have just open doors and people can come by and inform themselves about the religions. And I think in 2014, she went to one of those events and we sat at a pub mood with other witches. And she was like, we should just ask them if we could be part of it. So she wrote them and she just told them that we would like to be part for the next year. So we were gathering like all witches circles that we knew at that time and like all Azatru groups and everything, like every shaman that we know in Berlin to form our own first event. We just rented like a family center with a small garden for the first one because we had no idea if people were showing up. We were like the outsiders. And and then we opened the gates and we've been run over by people. We had hundreds of people showing up.
Wow.
And when we started the first event, I knew that most, especially the churches, they they were not really happy with us being part of the whole
Yeah.
thing. And also we had a lot of not so good meetings or talks with Muslim priests, for example, like the imams.
Yeah.
Especially if you are a woman
Yeah.
and if you are not that old, because I mean I'm 34, and they were like, what are you doing here, young girl?
Yeah.
Um, it was really hard in the beginning, but we just were there, and we just kept going to those events, and they just knew that, I mean, they obviously can't get rid of us, so they just had to accept us. And it took a while. It honestly, it just took years for them to accept us within those interfaith dialogue. But we had great events ever since. I mean, there was, for example, shortly before the whole Corona situation
Mhm.
started, we had been invited to join a fest, like a it was not a carnival. I mean, I intentionally, it was a small carnival that was organized by Muslim women, only Muslim women, and they invited us to do a Druid ritual, because at that time they knew that most of our rituals, that I mean all of our rituals that we do within this interfaith dialogue, we do only element centered, and
Yeah.
like of course also we call in the spirits, but everyone could call in their own gods, for example, but it's very element centered. And I think this is a good starting point, because everyone knows that there are four elements. So regardless of the religion, there are at least those four elements, and people could relate to them. So we started doing rituals with the four elements, and we had been invited to do a ritual with Muslim children.
Oh.
Yeah, an element ritual. We had written a peace ritual, Waters of the World, it was called, where we connected waters from all over the world. And yeah, so I mean, it took a while, and not everyone likes us. I mean, we are very loud, and we're just there. Um, but yeah, I mean, it took a few years, but now I think we are mostly accepted, or at least tolerated. Yeah.
Well, I think there'll be always some who'll tolerate you, but the fact
Yeah.
that you have a Muslim community asking
Yeah.
you to do a ritual for children,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that
That
would
was an
be
honor. That was, I mean, that was an act of trust. Absolutely.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, to leave their children in your hands,
Yeah.
and of course, this is the thing when people actually open their minds and see a Druid ceremony, you're kind of going, how can you argue with the elements?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Absolutely. That's fascinating. And of course, you know, that's very, very congruent with what we do in the order, is that, you know, having that diverse range
Yeah.
of spiritual backgrounds in people, and how, as a Druid, you can
Yeah.
practice your Christianity or your Islam or your Buddhism or whatever it is, or your atheism or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that you're actually walking your talk, you know, that the value that we have in the order is around diversity and openness, and here you are doing it in your own lived life as well. It's absolutely beautiful. And you know, it's you haven't had bad experiences, you've had actually positive ones.
Oh, well, I also had bad experiences. Not only from other religions, but especially from our own pagans in the beginning. When we started the first public pagan event, for example, we had a lot of negative comments. We were just hated that much, especially Mara and me. I
Because
Not everyone liked the idea of publics, like of pagans in public. Um, and there were a lot of men in a more like Nordic centered, like North centered groups that were not happy about us as women stepping up for other pagans. So yeah, I mean, no, I honestly, I did not only have positive experiences. We were told that we should get raped or killed quite a few times. Um, but
oh no,
yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was shocking in the beginning. Also
this is
bad
for
comments
pagan groups. This is for pagan
from
groups, yeah.
pagan groups. I mean, so-called pagan groups. I don't think they should think about their own belief system if they would like to kill our innocent women. But never mind. No, I mean, also by other religious groups, we were called to be. I mean, we have had many comments of Christians, Muslims, and other different beliefs from people that tell us that we should get killed for what we do, like witchcraft is worshiping the devil and stuff like that. In the beginning, it really hurt, but
Mhm.
honestly, I was really lucky to have a great background of druid friends, and my also my witches circle, and my friend Mara. So we just kept going, and I don't know if I could say it online. I said my husband always said you grew balls over the time. So
Ovaries, ovaries, ovaries. You don't need balls. You already have them within you.
yeah.
But
So
you know,
honestly, I just don't mind at that time. I mean, I've been doing it for more than 5 years now, so I'm like, heard that before.
well, you know, it's impressive that you didn't give in to the fear and that you still had that courage. But of course, you didn't do it alone. You know,
No,
we can't stand up on our own. We have to be in solidarity. So when
yeah,
you think of your Druid community, your Wiccan community, and then your friend Mara, to
yeah,
be able to say, we're going to do this and not
yeah,
to um, give in. And Ricky says, you know, Ricky Gellison, do you know
yeah.
Ricky?
Of course.
Unfortunately, some pagans eat their young. Absolutely. It's so sad. I mean, it's interesting. I've been, few people have had a swipe at me online. They've been uh, um, other pagans. Not, I haven't had anyone from a Christian or another religious background have a go at me, but it has been other pagans, and you kind of go, "Ah." Anyway.
Yeah.
Liz says, I think the misogyny is a factor, has been in all traditions. So interesting to hear of your Druid brothers and their sexism. Sadly, I don't think it was Druid brothers, was it?
No, no, no,
No.
no. No one from within the order. Honestly,
Yeah.
no, just
Um,
from outside.
and I mean, that's the one thing. So you didn't say, and I mean, I think people will know who are in the order, that
Yeah.
OBOD is not full of old men.
No,
Lots of women.
luckily it ain't. I mean, not that I don't like our old men within the druid,
Yeah,
within the order. I mean, we have many great old white men in the druid order, but also many people from all over the world that I just absolutely love.
that's
Yeah.
right. And the beard is not a requisite, not a
No.
requirement.
No, but I mean, it's nice to have if you're an old man, but not required.
If you can grow one, but yes.
Yeah, yeah,
So Philippa says, it's difficult, but I've done things with all sorts of religions. Some are tolerant, some have no problem with my spiritual way of living.
yeah,
I've had a Christian pray in front of me that I should burn in hell. Oh, suffer for all eternity. That's a
yeah,
pity. Um, and Deborah says, there will always be people scared and nasty, and well done for continuing in peace. Well, absolutely. It's
yeah.
about continuing. It takes a lot of bravery. This is from Beth. I admire your persistence. There are a lot of bizarre ideas out there. I was once told that nature meditation was actually a means to summon the jinn. Oh, God. Yeah. And Eric Morgan says, hey, I'm an old man druid. Well done, Eric.
It's like I said, I also like old man druids.
Ricky, although some of us are old men with beards. And then there are a lot of old men that have stick-on beards, I'm nearly sure. And then Deborah says, hey, what about a druid dating site? Okay, I say set it up yourself, Deborah.
Or just go to one of the gatherings. I mean, I think there are many single druids and
Oh, Francis says, Francis in Finland, I'm saddened to hear about those suggestions and threats. The prayer Eimear read out at the beginning is a focus so needed in the modern world in relation to the addictions to violence. Living in Finland, I know about some of the Nordic pagan groups who think they are modern day Vikings in their drunkenness, oh dear. And it's been a part of many identities, sadly, and some get what they perceive as a thrill from it because they are spiritually empty inside. I think that's so sad, isn't it? Yeah.
I just think that you have extremists like within every religion, but it's not the religion itself or the belief system. I mean, there are beliefs, but usually it's not the belief system itself. It's just the people and what they do. I mean, we have a lot of great Azatru groups here, and Nordic Nordic shamanistic practitioners. Sorry, I don't know the exact term, but that are great and that I love to work with. But of course, there's also those strange Viking.
Yes.
issue. Yeah.
Yeah. Steve Harrington, someone once said, "You'll know them by their fruits." Okay. If your faith makes you look down on someone, it needs some self-reflection. Absolutely, Steve. None of us
Yeah.
has, the right church or the right grove. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, Ricky, this is a bit of gravitas. I'm only obliged to grow old. It's not in my contract that I have to grow up. That's right. Yeah, and there's going to be bad people. That's from the Garden Muse in every group. It just feels unavoidable. The important thing is, it's not going to be all goodness and light, and it's about not being able to feel strong enough not to give into it and not to back down because there's pushback from you. And of course, when you stand your ground and you speak in a very measured way, in a very grounded way, in a very articulate way, and you're not hysterical and you haven't cursed anybody, all that
Yeah.
falling to the stereotypes, that actually people begin then to take a look at you. I remember years ago I was in an art group and one woman said, "You're really weird, but you're nice. You're nice weird." So, I mean, and that was fine. It doesn't matter how I am as long as I'm perceived as not dangerous, or that it's like, yeah, we can allow people to be different. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, would you say, I mean, I asked this question, is Druidry something you are or something you do?
That's a good question. Honestly, in the beginning, I called myself, I pictured myself to be a witch and a druid. And I think it was something like, honestly, it both works together, but on the other hand, it was two complete different things. Um, Over the years, I've been doing less rituals than I did before. When I was a
Uh-huh.
teenager, I mean, if you're a teenage witch, you do a lot of magic stuff. And also, I also grew older, although some people might not think of it like this, but I also grew older and I did a lot of less ritual work over the last years. I mean, okay, of course, Corona, but I would define myself as a druid because I just simply live it every day, even though I might not sit on my altar every day or fill up every cliche that people might have about druids, but I define myself as druid, and this is what I do. Like, this is just simply what I am, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. It's I don't know what other people do, how they define themselves. Is it something you are or something you do? I think it's both. But
Yeah.
I think in Irish, if I was saying I was a druid, I would say Drí atá anam, which means a druid is in me,
Yeah.
which I think is a nice way of, I suppose, owning it and internalizing it. And yeah. So, do you live in your ancestral home? I mean, is Berlin where you were brought up?
Yes. Yes, I was born in Berlin. I moved to Bavaria for 5 years when I was 13 and moved back when I was 18, so in a small town. But yeah, I grew up in Berlin. I'm an Ur-Berliner. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you then honor your ancestors?
Um,
Or is that a loaded question or a difficult
no, no,
challenge?
no, no. I'm absolutely well. It's just simply a different question, a difficult question, simply because I don't know much about my ancestors in blood, I would say. My dad was, I mean, I knew my grandfather, but my dad was halfly adopted, so I didn't know my grandmother, for example. So I have no idea about that family line, and I honestly don't know anything about the family line of my mother as well. Like, I think I mean, I knew my great grandmother, but then there's a point where no one has any record of
Okay.
where we came from or what we did. Um, but I think because of that, I just define the ancestry completely different. So I don't only honor the. We don't only on focus on the ancestors in blood. I mostly focus on ancestors of the land and ancestors of heart, for example, people that I admire that have lived before me. This is more what I do focus on, and of course the relatives that I knew, at least. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
how do you, when you think of you as an ancestor of the future, how does that resonate with you?
Oh, that's a really difficult question.
Mm.
um, Honestly, I cannot really answer that question, to be honest. I mean, I do work a lot with ancestors of the land, where I try to connect with the land
Okay.
around me. And I know that it might be difficult for some to believe that it is easy in Berlin, but as I do live in Spandau, which has these hundreds and thousands of years of especially Slavic culture that has been here, we had many interesting places, like religious places, for example.
Mhm.
We had swamps, for example, very close by, that have been used also for rituals from Slavic ancestors. So I focus a lot on that. That makes it much easier to connect with the land. Think it might be a bit more difficult within the inner city, but I was also told that we have two ley lines just
Ah,
crossing each other around the citadel. So connecting to this land here is really
yeah.
easy, to be honest. I mean, not as easy, honestly, as it is on Glastonbury. I feel connected just the way I step out of the airplane and go to Glastonbury. But yeah, it's easier here in Spandau. So whenever you should come to Berlin, I would just show you around. I know Matt McCabe was also very overwhelmed by
Was
what
he?
we have
Oh,
here.
okay.
Yeah, he was.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So
Listen,
this is what I focus on. I've never thought of myself as a future ancestor. But yeah, I mean, I am, obviously.
well, it's just interesting.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
haven't. I think your interfaith dialogue is
Mm.
sowing seeds. You're sowing seeds for the future.
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah. Roland is here. That's a very beautiful, said Bianca, honoring the ancestors.
Thank you.
And then Ricky has, with the importance, and I don't get this. You may do, with the importance of the Berliner Bear. Do you incorporate bear into your practice?
Yes, but not only because of the Berliner Bear, but simply because my husband's, I think, great mother's family name was Bärwalde, which means like the forest of the bear. And we
Hmm.
also named our seed group Bärenwald, so forest of the bear. That is why, yes, I do include the bear as like power animal, spirit animal a lot into our practice, simply because of the Berlin beer, the Berlin not beer bear, and because of the
I-
ancestry of my husband. Yeah.
so just tell us a little bit about the Berliner Bear.
Like the symbol figure,
Yeah,
or
I don't know anything about it. So,
it's honestly, I don't really know about the history of how it was invented, to be honest. You should have to ask Bjorn. He's like, I'm very bad at history. I can't remember names and I can't remember dates. I'm very bad at that. I just know that it is our weapon animal. Like, we just have it everywhere. And I don't know. To be honest, I have no idea where it originally came from, but I would have to ask Bjorn about that. Um, I just honestly love the bear as the spirit animal as it is, or like the animal of the north, for example. That
uh-huh.
is why we work a lot with it, but I honestly don't really know where it originally comes from in Berlin.
Okay, Ricky has posted it. Wikipedia, the coat of arms of Berlin. Thank you, Ricky. It's nothing like, it's great to come here and get educated. He said, I knew your secret name, but was thinking of a connection to open the topic. Oh, wonderful. Okay, that's beautiful.
Yeah, Ricky. Just wanted to know if I might remember it.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
you've. What would you say has been? Because you've done a lot. Okay, here's somebody. Linda says the bear was their animal of choice because it has long been the symbol on Berlin's coat of arms. These bears are meant to promote tolerance and peace among the world's many different religions and cultural groups. Oh, that's really, really interesting.
Okay.
Which is exactly what you're doing. You know, promoting
And it
peace and
fits
tolerance.
perfectly.
It does.
A coincidence without knowing. Well,
Oh, divine, whatever it is, guidance and
yeah,
wonderful
yeah, yeah.
synchronicity. So, what you may have already spoken about this, and I want to. No, actually, I'm going to go into one thing now. Your creativity. How has um your druid path
Mhm.
enhanced your creativity?
Oh, a lot. Um, I mean, I was always very creative. I was always doing a lot of art stuff, even in my childhood. So this was something that was always
Hmm.
something that belonged to me. I so love to sing, although I can't really, I'm not a good singer, but I just love to sing, do music, and draw and stuff like that. Um, but it was never really focused. Like it was just something that came out of me, and I just worked with it. But during the Bardic grade, I've just learned to feel. I mean, the Awen. I just learned to feel the Awen and to really call on it and to focus on it. Like, I mean, for example, if I'm looking for a new workshop idea, for example, and there's nothing that just comes into my mind, this is what I focus on. Sometimes I just call in the Awen, or I do a sort of meditation, and it's just like I call it and it just flows through me, and then suddenly I have these amazing ideas that really help me in my job, for example, or also my private life. I was before I've learned how, like, even to name those energy and to feel those energy and to really like to call it, to let it flow through my own
Hmm.
body. um it was very, I mean, I loved art and I was very inspired, but I could not focus on it really, and I couldn't use it in the way that I do use it, for example, now. I also got my Awen tattoo just the moment after I finished my body grade. So I have the Awen tattoo on my ankle that reminds me every
Yeah,
day of the creativity and inspiration. Yeah, it absolutely helped me to focus on that energy. And if I am not able to find the Awen within it, I think I've learned to call it from without, like from somewhere else. Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful. So, do you write poetry, or do you write, or
Um, not much over the last years, but in my body grade, I think I've done nothing but writing a lot of poetry. I've painted pictures, and my bot review, without wanting to tell anything about the things that have been written within, but it was full of poems and pictures, because this was, for example, the way that I've learned the elements. I've learned to work with the elements, to feel the different elements, was to also write poets about the elements or the
beautiful?
experiences that I had during the element rituals, for example. So yes, I would a lot of poetry. um I think I could remember some of them, and I honestly always wanted to publish a book about different poems that I wrote, but I've read so much over the last years, especially during the whole Corona crisis, that I completely forgot about it. Yeah, but I love to do it, and I hope um, I will write more poems soon.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
you said you remember some of them. Can you recite them now? You mean
Um,
you could do one now? That's
Give me a second. Wait a second. I would just.
you wrote them in German, or do
Oh,
you write them?
yes, I have. No, no, no. I wrote most of them in English.
Ooh, very good.
I know. I wrote a poem about love. I know that. Yeah, I recorded it once. Um, okay, I will try it. I think I
Good.
remember it. It was what is love? 1,000 songs for those 4 letters. deeper as the ocean, brighter than the sun. Like a guillotine, it cuts your head and mind off, sharp and precise. Love is both stupid and wise. It hurts and heals sometimes at the same time. Love isn't rational, it is unconditional. It never asks if someone is worthy of being loved. It's just there, suddenly. 4 letters and a feeling that might change your world. Massive, effective. Oh my God. I think I don't remember the last words, but never mind. Okay, this was most of the poem. Honestly, I
Wow.
just forgot the last words. Yeah, but I
Well, that
wrote,
was
honestly, I
beautiful.
wrote a lot of poems about my feelings during the body grade, and it helped me to proceed with them. Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I love it. So get the book out, get the book published.
Yeah, try my
Just a,
best.
just
Been
a
working on
question.
3, and I've never finished any of them.
Okay, well, three is a good number. So,
Yeah.
um, just to go back to ancestors, somebody has asked a question. Is it important in Druidry to know your ancestors or ancestral linkage? What's your view on that? I think you've already kind of answered it, but I'd just like maybe to give it something else.
I don't feel like I don't feel like there is something missing, like if I don't really know that much about my ancestry, but it's simply because I do a lot of trans journeys, and I think I've met some ancestors in the other world
Okay.
that I have never met before. Um, we've done a lot of ancestor research for my husband. It was much easier because he comes from a Jewish background. And it was really interesting to read about the stories and what happened in the lives of the ancestors. It was very easy to at least date back to around 1700.
Okay.
So that was interesting, but um, simply because there have been many events, of course, going on. A lot of the family died during the Second World War, for example. But this was just interesting for me on a historic way, because I just wanted to know about what happened and how they've been related to each other. Or sometimes one brother was able to escape to the US and the other one was just sent to a concentration camp, for example. So it was really interesting, but a hard story. I honestly, I would have loved to know my grandmother, simply because I've heard stories of her, telling me that she was a gypsy and she was into divination, for example. So I would have loved to ask her, but I've never met her. But I honestly, beside that fact, I'm absolutely fine with knowing nothing, because I feel and I think that I've met many of my ancestors in my other world journeys without really knowing them or having them officially on any paper. Yeah.
I'm inclined to agree with you. And it was interesting, you said the work that you do at the Citadel, that sense of ancestral connection
Yeah.
with ancestors of place. And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Michael says, I don't think you can get too far into Druidry without some curiosity on ancestry. That said, I don't quite know who they are, but at least know that there's someone I can call upon if needed. I mean, we can connect with unknown ancestors. We can offer healing. We can be healed by them. That we know that we have ancestors.
Yeah.
We can, even if we don't know them, we can't say we don't.
Yeah.
And somehow they have an impact on us, even
Yeah.
though we don't know. So it's just being able to connect at like you say, you've done your journeys and meditation. You can meet ancestors. That's beautiful. There's been great response to your poetry. So
Thank
your
you.
poem. Yeah.
I know it's on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. So if you would like
Oh,
to
is it? Okay. What's
read
your
the whole
YouTube?
poem, it's Just Druid, I guess. I really, the channel's name is Just Druid.
Okay, I'll just put that in. Just
But
through it.
I can just also send you the link if you would like to.
Oh, do. What am I doing? I've lost my okay. Are you sending me the link?
I would just send you the link in like half a minute. I already have it. Just send
Okay.
it to you.
How are you sending it to me?
Can you open messages now, or should I send it by email?
No, if you
Or
send it to me on Messenger, can you
I
put it? I can see it now. I can just
Yeah,
see it on my screen.
just Druid, modern Druidry.
Just Druid. Okay. You've used capitals. Hold on a second. Yeah. Modern, just Druid, modern Druidry. Okay. And that's on YouTube, okay? I'm okay. So that'll go on to everybody watch that. Yeah, great. Brilliant.
It was filmed on the Citadel, so you can only see, you can also see the Citadel in the background.
Well, Hannah has just subscribed. Eric says he would buy a copy of your book. And Transformation, who asked the question, thanks for answering my ancestry question. Both of you make sense. Oh, it's Lorraine Mitchell, Scotland. Thank you, Lorraine, for your question. And Sean has just subscribed to Just Druid, so I think.
Well, thank you.
And Ricky says, I think that for those who are less familiar with the genetic ancestors, then there's still worlds to explore and ancestors of spirit and ancestors of place. Absolutely. And I think it's good, we're well equipped to do that. Yeah.
Yes, especially in the OBOD grade. I mean, I'm now like 6 years in the OBOD grade. Well, I'm not saying too much, but yeah, just like the work. Just really enjoy the work.
Oh, it's wonderful. What would you say has been your biggest achievement
in life? I have absolutely no idea. I have 3 dogs that are still alive.
Okay.
No, honestly, I couldn't tell. I mean, I have plenty of events that I would count as achievements. I'm still married.
Good.
I think that, I mean, that's an achievement.
Yes.
Not because it's hard to live with my husband, but simply because most of the people that I know, they get, I mean, nowadays they are, I mean, we've been together for 10 years now, which is quite some time. So yes, I'm still in a relationship, maybe, but no, honestly, I couldn't just name one single event in my life that I'm very proud of. I mean, recently my new job, I really enjoy my new job. And that I'm proud of that. That was a big achievement, I would say.
Well done. Well done. And what would you say has been your biggest challenge that you've overcome?
Well, during the whole like since I joined the OBOD, I have had several life crises, but I was told by other OBODs that it's just completely normal.
Oh, brilliant.
Honestly, working with my worst fears,
Yeah.
my shadow self was very challenging. I mean, I know many Geminis that are very I mean, we all, to be honest, I think that most Geminis, they know their shadow selves very, very well. But it was hard working with it and to accept those parts of me. I think this was the biggest challenge for me. And to be fine with it and to give it enough room also to breathe, not only to hide your shadow self, but to give it its own special room in life. I think this was very challenging. I was struggling with a lot of stuff doing my body grade, and but yeah, it was challenge. It was really challenging, but it helped me to ground myself. Because I think I was constantly in imbalance of my own selves, because I always say I feel like I have at least 2 souls living within me, and I know that many Geminis do feel the same. And those were never really connected, so I was always caught between those 2 very different personalities that I do have. I mean, I could be a total extrovert, but on the other hand, a total introvert. And sometimes I like and hate things at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely imbalanced, and I had massive problems with my with sometimes even with rage and anger, because I always felt those imbalance. And the whole druid work, especially doing the body grade, it really helped me to just somehow feel connected again. Yeah.
Stephanie wants to know, what do you mean by your shadow self? Conflicting thoughts?
I would say, I mean, without I just don't want to spoil anything about the grade, but if I have to describe it, my own shadow self, for example, we always have this, or I mean, we always have these view on ourselves where we would like to be nice, we would like to be kind, we would like to be intelligent, and we'd like to make the right choices. But my shadow self is completely irrational. She's a nasty bitch, and she would do anything to get what she wants. So that is my shadow self. I think that everyone has those shadow self somewhere within. Um, this My shadow self is just all the parts of me that I hide because of fear, or because I know that they are not accepted in our community. For example, behavior that people don't like, or behavior that people don't understand, and also desires that people might not understand, or desires that are not accepted in our the way we do live in our society. So I think this is what my shadow self is. All parts that I have to, or some often have to hide, to keep control over my own life and to act like a normal human being. Yeah, but I mean, I think most people have those bad habits or bad thought. I think, I mean, I spoke to people that are absolutely not religious about the shadow selves, and I think that the shadow self is those little voice within your head that tells you to make stupid decisions, or that just, for example, if you are mad at someone, there's sometimes this little tiny voice in your head that says, oh my god, I could just kill that person. You know, of course, yourself, you couldn't do it, simply because it would be completely irrational and it wouldn't be allowed, and you don't want to hurt anyone. But there's this tiny little voice that's quite nasty in your head. It's like, oh, if this person could just die, I would be completely free. um no, I mean, I'm sorry, I just sound like a lunatic, but I studied my shadow self very much, so I know about all of my bad thoughts, all bad habits that I somehow have and that are part of myself.
So,
Yeah,
given that you know them, are they
yeah.
still part of your shadow? Because my understanding
No,
sometimes is the
no.
shadow part is that we don't know. And shadow
Yeah,
can be good,
yeah.
something that we are not aware of, a
It it
gift.
it, it could just rescue you. I felt like those shadow self. It rescued me. I mean, I don't feel like it is a shadow self like a shadow
Yeah.
part anymore. I feel like it's just part of myself. It's nothing that I hide. Simply, um, I mean, I make choices in life. I make the choice to be a nice or a good person, but I accept that I am not always, not all of my thoughts are just love and light. I do accept it, and it's part of me. Um, no, I wouldn't. So that's why I wouldn't really call it a shadow self anymore, because it's not hidden. I know about it, and
And
sometimes
when
it's just an energy kick in times of fear and darkness. This could be a huge energy kick.
I think
Yeah,
it's you're so refreshingly honest, and it's about
yeah,
when you were aware of that, and you can recognize those
yeah.
impulses or desires, or those those thoughts that you're not
I
meant
know.
to
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
That we all have them. The important thing is that if we are not aware of them, then we act them out. But when we are
yeah,
aware, we don't, and that we're able to, we have a choice
yeah.
to do that or not. Interesting. Michael says, I just started the Overgrade and was searching through YouTube this morning to look for some inspiration. I bookmarked your video this morning without knowing who you were. Isn't that wonderful?
Like I said, a strange coincidence. Yeah,
Ah, yes. So, I mean, there's lots of comments about shadow. I must admit, I struggle with my shadow self. I know exactly where you're coming from. That's Hannah. Crystal says, I'm selfish, unorganized, and bossy. That's my shadow. Well, you see, the fact that you know it, Crystal, it's you've revealed it, and then you have a choice about it.
And you can use it. Sometimes you can just use those officially rated bad habits. You can use it. There are options. There are like moments in life where you just have to use those bad habits or bad thoughts. They could be an energy kick, and they can help in difficult situations.
That's right. Deborah says, my shadow aspects alert me to myself and potentially shit situations or people. Yeah. It's there for a reason. It's not something that you cut off or cut away. And I mean, those, murderous thoughts or whatever,
I mean, yeah.
They,
not that I would kill someone, but yeah.
But the anger or whatever, or the power behind them could actually save your life in some way. That it's not.
Of course. I mean, in a situation where my life is in risk, this could be very, very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the Garden Muse. I had to listen to my shadow when it was screaming for me to stand up for myself and my values. It can be a good thing too. Absolutely, because I think it's what you don't know that you're actually not aware of, and it isn't always a bad thing, and it could be some gift or talent that you're not using. Steve says this refreshing honesty and insight about shadow self is probably what attracts so much negative attention from certain religious types. So it's, so lots. Nice is not the same as healthy, so sometimes we need to embrace these shadows. Absolutely, Ferdiad, I agree with that. And then Salve says we must be accountable and face all our daunting demons that derail our pure heart intentions. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we can't see our shadow unless we go to a light. That's true. And when we shine more light on the shadow, we realize it does not exist. It's just there to give us understanding of ourselves and others, which leads to compassion, because none of us is perfect. Absolutely. And then here you've got a fellow Gemini, Diana. I perceive the shadow of self as anything society or myself finds difficult to accept or hold space for. Anger, for example, or thoughts of deconstructing the corrupt system.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you can? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nikki says, the thing I think when we don't listen to our shadow self and integrate it, it can play up and self-sabotage. When recognized, it can be positive strength transmuted. Absolutely. Yeah. Great. I know it's lovely to hear you being so honest. Do you know Gunter Nall?
Yeah.
If you see a shadow in front of you, then there will be light behind. So it's just lovely. Wonderful. So what would you say has been the most reckless thing you've ever done?
Honestly, I'm a very open person. I can be destructive in words, but I'm usually trying to be love and light. Oh my God. Oh, well, you just forced me to be really open. I've cheated on an ex one time in my life, and I still regret it. It was I've cheated on a person that I loved at that time, but I was selfish, stupid, and I didn't feel seen and loved and recognized at that time. So I decided that it is a good idea to cheat on that person. And honestly, I would say I still regret it, simply because I absolutely hate hurting people that I like. So it's been like 14 years at least. So not with Bjorn, of course. In a previous relationship, and I regret it ever since. But honestly, after I think this is the only thing that I absolutely regret in life. All the other life choices I made that are even if I think they have been stupid, they just led me to where I am now. So I don't regret anything besides this one event.
Did that mark the end of your relationship with that person?
No, we tried, but it honestly just didn't work out for other reasons. We just outgrown each other. We had just outgrown each other, and I think I mean, I was very young at that time. If I would have known, or if I would have had the experience in life that I have now, I would have completely acted different, simply because at that point the relationship was already over. It was like riding a dead horse. We just, but both of us, we were just not able to admit it, because
Okay.
we didn't want to have this feeling of failure, for example. So we tried, I think, for at least 1.5 years, but in the end, it just completely didn't work out with, because we had overgrown each other. He was a bit older than myself, and we went together when I was 18. At that
Okay.
time in life, you just develop into completely different ways, for example, and it
Yeah.
was just like that. Yeah.
That's so honest. What are you grateful? That's just wonderful. So, what are you grateful for in your life?
I would say nearly everything. Um, I am. I mean, there's nearly nothing that I'm not grateful about. I mean, I couldn't I have a great relationship. I love my family. I have great friends. Um, and I'm really happy to have the job that I do have now, because I could pay my bills. We have been
Good.
broke for many years since before we both got better jobs. So I am very thankful for my job, and honestly, no, I'm thankful in general.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. What brings you joy?
To sing, I love to sing. Um, Very loud, not only in the shower. That brings me a lot of joy, simply because this is, I think, I would say this is for me, it's the best way of expressing feelings. So, yeah.
Would you sing for us now?
No. Don't be mad at me, but it would sound awful. But yeah, maybe one day on my YouTube. I think there was a chant on my YouTube channel once. Maybe I will upload it for you again, but not today.
Okay, lovely. Well, I won't put you to it.
I mean, I've already spoken about cheating on someone, so no, no, I don't want to sing. No.
Is there
Uh,
is there anything you change about your life if you had to? Yeah.
right now,
Hmm.
nothing, absolutely nothing. I mean, I can't change the situation around me. Like, I mean, would be nice if there wouldn't be a war, and it would be nice if there wouldn't be
Indeed.
a pandemic.
Mhm.
But besides that, right now, at the point where I am now in life, I wouldn't want to change anything.
That's a wonderful place to be, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Great. There's a question from Roland. What is your favorite song?
Hmm. I don't think I have a favorite song. I have many songs that I compared with different situation. I don't know if you know the song "Chasing Cars."
Mm-mm.
Honestly, I don't really like that song. But the funny thing is that after my dad died, this song suddenly, I don't know, wherever I showed up, this song started to play, like
Uh-huh.
in shops, and even musicians in the underground, they started singing this song. So I compare it with the death of my dad, and it reminds me of him. So I like that song for that reason.
Mm.
Um, there are so many good songs. My husband and I, we set up a band during the pandemic, simply because we were totally bored. I mean, I still had to work during the whole pandemic, but he hasn't had things to do, because he is a lighting engineer for events, so he had a lot of free times, and we set up a band where we covered old metal and punk songs, also things like Black Sabbath and stuff like that. So, although I am personally a bit more into R&B and a bit
Okay. Okay.
smoother songs, I do love to scream Ozzy Osbourne songs in my free time.
Wow. Because Ferdy, it says that if you were to perform at the OBOD Steadfod, what would you play or sing?
That's a good question. I wrote a few smaller songs for rituals, for example.
Oh,
Um, so chants and songs for rituals that we did with our C group. Um, I don't know if they might be interesting enough for the Ice Death Part. Honestly, I would love um, to sing the Cherry Bomb, for example. I love that song because I've once sung it in Glastonbury in a karaoke bar, and I would love to perform it on stage, but only if Dan Goodfellow is on the drums. Like I just love drumming with Dan Goodfellow. So yeah, I would totally do it.
oh, that's wonderful, wonderful. I don't know the song. Gunter mentions "Imagine" all the people from John Lennon. I like
Oh
that
yeah,
song too.
yeah.
And Earth Sage Katrine says, just about to start learning Druidry in my 60s. Hope it's not too late. Absolutely not. It is never too late. You're very, very welcome.
Our oldest Druid member of our C group, she sadly she passed away
Oh,
2 years ago, but she was, I think, 68 when she joined the OBOD, so never too old.
no, absolutely
Mm.
not. Uh, oh, that's wonderful. So, is there anybody in your life that you admire? Like it
Many
could be,
people. Um, there are many Druids that I do admire, to be honest. I mean, I can openly speak about. I love Adrian.
yeah.
I just absolutely admire him. Barry Patterson, whenever he's on stage, I'm like completely thrilled. I
Okay.
love, or if he's doing a ritual, I just love the way that he does it. I admire a lot of druids, but I simply because I've met so many great people. Besides,
What specifically about Adrian do you like?
excuse me,
What is it about Adrian that you admire?
it's hard to tell. He has these. Oh my god, I think he will. Oh my god, I hope he does not listen to it. um, he has this strange way of being extremely calm, but on the other side, I mean, he is full of love, full of joy, and he has this special calmness. But on the other hand, he has he's a massive power inside of him. So, like,
Hmm.
I mean, I think he's just an inspiration. He doesn't even have to say anything. It's just being around him calms me down. That's why I love him. Yeah,
Oh, that's
absolutely.
wonderful. That's just
Yeah, and
absolutely
I mean,
lovely.
Daniel Mackenzie, I even wrote a poem about him because I said that he's the druid with the Sherlock charm, like Sherlock charm, um, and we always call him Snape for obvious reasons.
Obvious reasons.
No, we just have this inside joke also on gatherings where he's Snape because although he's very friendly and a loving person, he can be very Snapey like. And they used to call me Hermione because I'm usually I'm the one that if he's doing things and I'm with him, I'm the one that has to answer the questions or just do the things. And whatever. My C group also just calls me Hermione simply because when I started the whole Druid grade, I was really like Hermione. I had a lot of journals and I wrote everything down. I was like, I have to go through all 3 grades within not even 3 years. I've changed. I've changed a lot. Well, I was really Hermione like when I started the Druid grade. I got a lot more calm and
You've mellowed.
yeah.
Uh,
No, but there are many great druids. Dan and Danu, for example, Danu Forest and then Dan Goodfellow are so great druids. I have many great people within the OBOD that I could admire or that I do admire.
yeah.
Outside of the OBOD, to be honest, I mean my friend Mara, but she just recently joined the OBOD simply because she's a person that really inspired me over the last 10 years. Or nearly 10 years, I would say. Yeah. Besides that, honestly, I'm not really that easy to be impressed by stars or politicians. Hard to impress just simply because I did a lot of press work, met some stars, and they were really not that interesting
Yeah.
if you meet them in private. So I do admire. I mostly do admire people that I know and that have had some impact of my life. Yeah.
Wonderful. Sean has a question. What is your favorite or most influential Druid book?
As I started with Wisdom of Nature and Wisdom of Druidry, this was what in the end led me to the Druid Order. And I love working with the books of Danu Forest as well, especially the Catechol Magical Year. This is a book that I often recommend also to my customers in the Witcher shop, because it's great for great if you would like to get some inspiration on what you could do for the seasonal festivals. Like I love her books in general. And we have so many great authors. I mean, I have books of Penny Billington. They are amazing. Ronald Hutton. I don't think I even have to name him. Everyone knows him. He has amazing books. And I know that Andrew also wrote 2 books, but I have not read them yet, to be honest. And I'm still also waiting for the book of Daniel Mackenzie. I hope it comes out one day. I know that he has written. I don't know. He told me that he had finished like 3 years ago, so I am still waiting for it. We have so many great authors within the OBOD. Yeah, but of course the one that influenced me the most was, of course, Nature of Druid, Wisdom of Nature and Wisdom of Druidry. Yeah.
There's lots of talented
a lot of talented artists. I mean, I also love Dave.
Yeah,
he's great. Yeah,
he is, absolutely. There's Jay, the Grand Druid Council. Who are the heads? I don't know. Is there a Grand Druid House Council?
Excuse me? What is a Grand Druid Council?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Grand.
Me neither.
I have no idea. Not one that we're aware of. I don't know if I'm not aware of a Grand Druid Council. So
no.
Yeah. So when you think of what concern do you have about the modern world?
The way I would say the way that we as people see us disconnected from nature.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the biggest issues, because I think that if we would, we as Druids or other more nature-based religions, they might see it completely different, or they might see themselves different and not separate from the nature around us. But I think that if you would see us as part of nature and as part of this one system and this large and big energy, first of all, we would treat nature much better. We would treat animals completely different. And I also think that we would treat each other different if we would feel connected to each other in the way that we, for example, do in our rituals. I mean, we've been doing a lot of public rituals with people that I've never met before, but doing those rituals, you somehow feel connected with people that you don't know. And if we would all feel those connection to Mother Nature, to our ancestors, the elements in all beings around us, I think that we would also stop to destroy ourselves or destroy others, because it would mean that we will also destroy ourselves. I think this is one of the biggest issues.
I came across, it was a paper written years ago, and I don't have the reference in my head, when they were looking at cultures where there was a strong nature connect. So you're talking about maybe hunter-gatherers, that the level of violence was very, very low. Even the instance of rape or gender-based violence, that it didn't mean it didn't happen, but if it did, it didn't go unpunished. And this, talking about the need for that, the closer you are, or that you see yourself as part of nature. It's not that we as humans are different and we should connect, but that when we recognize our connectedness to everything, that we are less likely to be violent or less likely to act out.
Yeah, because in the end, we know that we will also hurt ourselves. I mean, this is just my point of view. But I think this is the biggest issue that we do have. I mean, I don't think that it is just a feeling that people do have. I mean, this is what we learn from the moment we grow up. It's always like I mean, we were taught that we are people and then there's nature. We were never taught that we are nature. So like this is just something that we never learn in school. I mean, maybe if there are some nature connected teachers, but usually you just don't learn it in school. You just learn about animals and others. It's always about others, like other living beings that are not connected to you, of course. Why should you be connected with a snake or a sheep? And yeah, so it's always you and nature.
Yeah, and it's now, Tallaght, just as which book was that? The Nature of Druidry. What was the book that you made? I think you're.
I mean, in German, it's Weisheit der Druiden. I think it's Wisdom of Druidry. I mean, I know that Philip wrote different books. I know that I also have the English version. I think it was just Wisdom of the Druids. But I think if you just look for Philip Cargan books, you might, of course, find the two of them.
I think so. Yeah. So, what gives you hope for the modern world, given the world we're living in right now, and the situation is we've just, well, hopefully come to the end of a world pandemic, but it's still going on in some places, and in many places in the world, or we're now learning to live with it. And then we think of the wars in so many places.
Yeah.
And then we've got this climate emergency. What gives you hope?
That's a good question. First of all, I mean, I do believe in. Well, there's my dog just next to me. I do believe in spirits, gods, and ancestors. And in very difficult times, they help me quite a lot. But what just gives me hope is community. Although I can be an introvert and I love the time that I can spend alone, I'm a Gemini, so I need my community. And in times of darkness, this is what gives me hope. I mean, sometimes I am just not able to see the light, so I need someone else to be able to see it for me and to help me with it. So that's why I really enjoy the whole Druid community. I know that there are other great communities, also Christian communities. I know a lot of great Buddhist communities, for example, that help each other in times of darkness. But this is honestly, if I can't find the hope myself, but I'm an optimist, I usually there's always a spark of hope within me. But if I feel like I can't find any hope, I just rely on my community to help me find it.
I think that sense of belonging, that sense of connectedness with people is really, really important.
Yeah.
It always has been, but I find myself saying now more than ever, but it always has been very, very important. What's your bottom line, as in, what will you in your own life not compromise on?
Honestly, I mean, if it's small things, I do compromises, but I would never put myself again in situations where I feel, I mean, besides the interfaith dialogue, where I don't feel recognized and respected, for example. And that's why when I was a teenager, I was an absolute people pleaser, simply because I had absolutely no self-confidence, absolutely no. And now, as I was able to gain that confidence that I needed to live a healthy life, I just simply avoid situations that where I am treated badly. And not that I run away from them, but I'm just done with it. Yeah. So this is something that I do absolutely not compromise on. And it's not about being compromised, but what I can't accept, for example, is to see someone treat others
Mhm.
with disrespect, especially if the other person is like weaker, like physically weaker, for example, children, animals. I have my 3 dogs simply because I do love animals, and I do have them from different dog shelters.
Okay.
So this is, for example, something I would never compromise on. I mean, I would never let someone come between me and my dogs, for example. Yeah.
That's really, really interesting.
Besides that, honestly, I'm a very honest person. I think you have already recognized. So I just do speak what's on my mind. So I don't really have to compromise a lot in life, because I just usually just say what I think. So there's no
What
need.
what moved you from being a people pleaser to being who you are now? What was that thing? Because I used to be a people pleaser. There's still a
Yeah.
part of me that's there.
Yeah, now
But
of course. I mean, of course, it's not that I don't like to be liked anymore, and that I enjoy being hated, but most of the time I just simply don't care. But first of all, because I know I have people that love me,
anyway,
and I found ways to love myself. I think this was the biggest issue. Because the funny thing is, when I stopped being a people pleaser, people started liking me even more.
yeah.
In school, I was always the outsider. I had like 1 or 2 friends, and I was always the weird girl in the back row. Or I was always just with the nerds, or with the people that others don't like. But when I started to not care about others, and not care about others, but not care about other people's opinions about myself, somehow people started liking me even more. So I think the biggest, the thing that had to change to come to that point was to find a way to love myself, because I mean, most teenagers don't love themselves, but yeah, and not that I hated myself, but I always doubted myself in very strange or not really healthy ways. Yeah.
I mean, it's when it comes to self-love, then you are sure of yourself. Therefore,
Yeah.
others can be sure of you.
Yeah.
And when you're not afraid to be who you are, people can really, because they're sensing that authenticity
Yeah.
in you that they can relate to. Where if you're, I mean, I've been a people pleaser, so I know what it's like. Then who am I? So they're not getting a sense of who I am, and that can be really irritating. And you can be very dismissive of somebody who's
Yeah.
they're trying to please you because they're not being real.
I think one of the biggest events that just led to that point, honestly, was the death of my father. He died 2011 on a brain tumor, and it was like two years of massive pain. It was a really hard time, but because at that time he was not even 50 years old,
Yeah.
I started to see life completely different, because he always enjoyed life. He enjoyed life at the fullest. Absolutely. But honestly, for me, it was a time where I was like, I suddenly recognized that I might not, I mean, there's always things that could happen for me not to grow like 80 or 90 years old, not to die at a very old age. So I started questioning everything in my life. And one of the last conversations that I had with my dad was, if you do something, please just do what you really like. And if you like to do something, then do it with your full heart. Like not like just a tiny bit. If you like to do something, just do it. And I just started to change everything in my life after that, because I figured out that I mean, there could be events in life where you might not live another week or
That's right.
another day even. And I was like, why am I living my life for someone like I think someone else would want me to live my life? And I just started to live life the way I thought it would be right,
Yep.
and the way it felt right. So I think this was one of the moments that changed my life. Of course, that had the most impact on those situations. Yeah.
What a great gift from him. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of our time, and I always end 2 questions.
Yeah.
It's been just such a joy talking to you, and I know from the comments that people have really enjoyed the conversation as well. Julia says wise words, so that's a nice affirmation. What is your favorite season, and what is your favorite Wheel of the Year ceremony?
My favorite season is spring.
And why?
Also, I really enjoy heat. I really enjoy heat. I should say summer, but I just love those feeling of those growing energies where
Yeah.
like all of these tiny plants hidden, they somehow start to grow, and I like those. Just like the feeling of growing after a dark time. I think that's why I love this season. And my honestly, the ritual that left the most is just Samhain. I always loved Samhain, and I love Beltane as well, but I prefer Samhain simply because it's the time of the year where I feel extremely connected to the other world, and I receive a lot of great informations, and I could do a lot of divination and stuff. So I just love the time around Samhain. Yeah.
I think it's seemingly from most of my guests, it seems to be the most popular. I love Samhain. I like the one I'm in. I just loved the one just at the weekend. I love the planting of the seeds, and there's always something else. And then I love Samhain. And anyway, it's I'm just so grateful we have one every 6 weeks that that keeps us going, and I find them very, 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 very nourishing and nurturing. It's just wonderful to have that. Yep, Steve Harrington says, "Yep, Samhain rules." That's lovely. Bianca, it's just been such a joy talking to you. And I know this is way past your bedtime because I know you're an early to bed person. And it's been really, really enjoyable talking to you. So I just invite you to say goodnight to everybody, and then you can go backstage, and then I'll finish up here, and then we can go back and look at the comments.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you all for joining and listening. And I will go through all the comments later on. And I wish you a wonderful night, because I would now really enjoy going to bed. But it was lovely to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so you hang on for me there. So listen, it's just been lovely. Again, I'm in conversation with Bianca, but also your comments and how you engage. This really, really animates these conversations, and I really, really appreciate it. So we're still kind of in our spring equinox mood. So I'm hoping you're enjoying the balance of night and day, and also listening to more or watching more of the shoots come up, and hopefully you've planted some wonderful seeds for yourselves. So I will bid you all good night, good morning, good afternoon, or whether you're watching a recording of this. May you be well, and I look forward to seeing you next week when I have another guest. So until then, slán go fóill.